let's talk about supplies for this project so that you can stop the video and get your things together and work with me if you like. You'll need your journal or whatever you're going to paint in or on. You could just use a sheet of watercolor paper. In fact, it doesn't even have to be watercolor paper, and you can paint this into your Bible. Now, I did watercolor paint and then color pencil over it. It's either or. You don't have to do both. You could just paint, so you would need your paint and your brushes. I like to have a wider brush to do the bigger areas and then a pointy brush to do the details. 2 containers of water, one to dip your brush in to clean it, and then you wipe your brush on a paper towel. I didn't write down paper towel, but you wipe your brush on a towel, and then you dip it into the clean water to get the paint wet. Now, if you're using colored pencils, you'll need at least a box of 8. You'll need an eraser. Where is my eraser? Not the pink kind, but you need a white eraser for this. If you try to do the pink with colored pencil, it smears and makes a mess. You'll need a pencil sharpener if you're going to do much colored pencil work at all, and I've bought I don't know how many kinds. One of the best ones is a metal one that you get in the cosmetics department at Walmart, and it used to be about $1. I don't know what they cost now that things are going up. It's just a little metal eye pencil sharpener. That's a great one to keep your pencils really sharp. I use a big fluffy makeup brush to brush after I've erased. I brush the dust off with that to keep from putting oils from my hands onto the paper, but that's optional. If you're painting something like I did this sunset and you want to look at one while you paint it, tear out some magazine pictures that you like and paint one like that. For other details, you may want to use paint pens, washi tape, pictures from magazines that you're going to embellish with, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, how to do that. And that's all. There's not a lot of real strange supplies that you have to have for this. So go get your things and let's get to work. Hello, beautiful people. I wanted to show you, remind you really, this is my First John Bible Study journal that we had started. And you might have noticed that I painted this sort of without discussion and left it and went on and worked on some other pages. Today I want to show you how I did this page, and I need to finish it up. So what I did first, and we're going to do that in just a minute, is I just took watercolors and I used the cheapest set of watercolors I own, which is like a little kid set. So whatever you have and a paintbrush, you can do this. And in this, if you're using a travel journal, it didn't go through. It looks really good. Then I took my colored pencils. I used the Prismacolor Premiers, but again, Crayola is fine for this. And I colored in over it. I do see one problem. I didn't actually start it out with a plan, so I didn't leave room for the sun. I was able to erase my colored pencil and put the sun here, which since it's sunset, the sun is going to be white with yellow around it. And in the reflection, it needs to narrow as it comes toward us, and I didn't do that. So I'm going to try to do that now with probably a little orange over on the sides. Oh, see, it's looking better already. It's so easy with colored pencil to straighten things out or change what you want to change. Then I decided it needed a person or a bird or something. So I went through some magazines. That's a really easy way to get a picture that you need. If you feel like you don't have drawing skills, just find something in a magazine. I didn't find what I wanted, so I got lazy and went on the internet and printed out a couple of birds and a couple of kayaking pictures. So I'm going to snip those out now, and then I will come back and we can talk about them. I think I got the size. You know, the thing about printing it out on the internet, you don't know what size to shrink it down to. I made these birds about 1 inch. This one was the biggest at about 3 inches from here to here, and I think I got pretty close to the right size. So let me cut these out and we'll talk about them. All right, I've got them all cut out. Let's talk about them. This guy is really, he's got his back to you. It was a sunset picture, and I have accidentally cut off his paddle. Poor thing, he can't go anywhere with his broken paddle. So I really thought he was going to be the one. I just wanted to be sure that I had other things. I'm going to make this sheet available to you so that you can just cut them out if you want. That's for people who are in the First John Bible Study Facebook group, which is under Bible Study Planet on Facebook. So that's where you're going to find this download with these 4 images on it. So that was my first thought, and he looks like he's paddling toward the sun, and he's about the right size, so I like that one a lot. This one, I wanted to put that, now I printed the kind of bird I have here, so I wanted to put this egret, you know, down in the water, which is a typical scene where I live, and I didn't get him all the way cut out, did I? Well, I'm not going to use him because he had, you know, his foot up and his toes sticking up, and I didn't do a good job, and I would have to use a craft knife to get down there in between his legs. But now, one thing you can do when you are doing this kind of work is just whack his legs off and draw them in. So I could easily do that, and I haven't cut this part above his tail yet, so that would be an option. This one cut out pretty easily. I questioned that his tail was flat. I think when I was deleting the background, I may have whacked his tail because I don't think their tails are a straight line like that. But anyway, he would be pretty up in the sky, and it's a, you know, it's a sunset sky, so that might work. And I did these 2 kayakers. They would go, you know, more back here in the darker part, and they would work too. So it's going to come down to a matter of what do you want in your picture. I think for this one, I'm going to use the kayaker, and probably, I think I'll put him over on this page since the sun is on the first page. He can be on the second page. So I'm just going to gesso this down. Now I'm ready to paint. I have taped down my watercolor paper, and the reason I do that is because it tends to crinkle up. Remember, on the other one that I did, I had to iron it to make it flat. So this is just, I've cut a small piece of paper so that it's more like your journal that you're working in. Taped it down. Now there's 2 sides to watercolor paper. There's a bumpy side and a smooth side. My bumpy side had some writing on it, so I'm using the smooth side. I have this brush that's not really a watercolor brush at all, but it was actually in my water jar, and I said that'll be kind of useful because of the bigger areas where we're going to put some paint. So the first thing we want to decide is how up do we want the horizon? Do you want the land down here and the sky to be bigger, or vice versa? And since we're doing a sunset, I think I'm going to make my sky pretty big because that's the focal. And then we also want to know where you want to put your sun. Now, if I had some masking fluid, I would just mask out a circle for my sun. I'm just going to try to work around it. So I think my horizon will be about here, about the about a third. So I'm going to that's not going to be straight if I do it like that. I am going to put some tape down and paint a straight line. That will be very, very much better. Okay. So I'm going to take my brush, and today, now last time I just painted, but today I'm going to put some water down first and have a really watery substrate and let the water move. I have no blue on here. I thought I had put the colors that I needed. I have a phthalo blue, which is a really intense color, and I have ultramarine blue, which is bitter water. It tends toward purple, so I may not need this purple. Now, is that everything? I think it is. So, I have a fan in here and things tend to dry really fast, unfortunately. So I'm going to put a little blue out. Let's see how it looks. I'm going to dab it, since I'm using such a spongy brush, I'm going to dab it on there first. Oh yeah, nice and thin. For me, I wanted thin. This ultramarine, you can see how dark it would be. So I'm going to leave a little, I should have moved my sun, but it's going to be about the same place as the other painting. We want the water to kind of come in like that. And I'll clean that off. And get some water. And I'm going to leave this here for a bit. I'm going to go ahead and start working on the sky, and see what I just did. I went right over the spot where I want my sun. So I'm going to try to dab that back out. If you would leave it dry and paint around it, the water would kind of stay in the wet spots, in the wet zone. Now, when you paint a sunset, you have yellow right around the sun itself. Woo, that's going to be bright. Still sort of version, and I'm only going by the sunset here where I live. It's beautiful. It's over the water, which is why I put it in water. You do want to overlap these some, and that is too much orange. Also, if you dab like that, you can kind of get your clouds worked in nicely. In fact, I'll dab around this sun where I didn't want it so yellow. Okay, I might put a little bit of orange. Whoops. I'm going to have to switch to the water brushes, y'all. Okay, and then up at the top, now what I did was I put purple to represent some clouds, but you don't have to do that. You can carry your orange on up. You could do a really pale purple because of the atmosphere. Let's see if I can come up with that. This purple is just not pleasant. I'll mix it with the ultramarine. Okay, and then I'm probably going to have to dab it. Okay, now I'm going to switch brushes before I do anything else. I think I have two water brushes. Yes. One is more broad and one is a little bit smaller. So and I filled them with water earlier. So I'm going to use those. One thing I want to do is get this sky looking more skyish. I still want to leave this tape here just while the you know, to give the water area a chance to dry. So I'm going to use a little orange, mix some water in it, and then you squeeze your water brush and even more water will come down. So you can dab it over on the paper towel to get less pigment, and then squeeze your brush and you can kind of get these lines going. Now if those look too much for you, find a clean spot on your paper towel and just dab. Okay, like that. That came out a lot more than I meant for it to. Let's clean it off. Oh yeah, there we go. Now I've got more water going in. Now, and if you mess up like that, like I did, it's not going to matter because you will get your colored pencil going over it. So also you can kind of add water and move it. Look at this. See how I'm adding water to that area? And then I can do that. I'm not a watercolorist, in case you didn't figure that out the moment I picked up a brush. Just not. I'm mostly an oil painter. I really, at this stage in life, I just like to work in pen and ink and then put a little watercolor wash over it. So I'm going to add some yellow to that. Dab it off. Dabbed it off too much. There we go. Here's some yellow. Now, I don't like how this is all a straight line, but I know that when I get into my pencils, I'm going to straighten that up. That's exactly what happened over here, if you recall. Now, I'm just going to leave this tape down and let it dry for a few minutes and come back to it. there is my completed painting, except for the bird I was going to put in. So let's put him in now. I will tell you that the tape, the drafting tape that I had heard was the best tape to use on watercolor, and so I replaced what I had. That tape did pull. You can see right over here, and you can see it around some of the edges. It pulled the paper apart. So I recommend you stick with the low-tack tape like the painter's tape from the hardware store, or just some washi tape. And don't try the drafting tape. It's expensive and it doesn't do a good job. The first time I thought it was because the paper was wet, but today the paper is absolutely dry, and the same thing happened. But anyway, you see how having taped around it makes almost a nice frame, and gives you a place to put your mat if you're going to mat and frame your picture. And here is the other one in my journal. So I hope you have a lot of fun making this painting if you've never painted before. I don't think my bird is showing up very well, so I'm going to see if I can, you know, the paint pen works a lot better on a thick layer of colored pencil. Or a Sharpie. It's not that the Pitt pen won't work, it's just that this works better. This is way thicker. This is a Sharpie, and it's way bigger than the ones I was about to use, so it may be too much. When you do this, you can kind of go over those white edges of the paper. There's kind of no way to avoid those when you're cutting. There, a point. Okay. So there is my sunset. This is another sunset I've been working on. It's not finished by any means. Here's the photograph. I did move the sun. I felt like this is the important part, and so I put the sun over here out of the way. I'm not nearly finished. I'm kind of finished with the rocks and the sand maybe, and that's all. I jump around and put color everywhere, as you see. But anyway, that's another sunset painting I've been working on. I hope you have a great day. If you like what you're hearing, please do subscribe and leave me some comments and let me know.